Hey everyone, what's up? I'm Kevin, this is Andy, and this is Chris. Welcome to Creative Table, where we are diving into all things today, AI related, regarding AI and how it intersects with what we do as creatives. Should we be scared, nervous, excited, all of the above? Chris, what are we talking about today?
Well, everybody thinks AI stands for artificial intelligence, but we're going to make it stand for artistic integration. I just came up with that on the fly right now.
Copyright 2025, Chris areas.
That's right.
All rights reserved.
All rights reserved. That's right. And I'm going to drop all the legalese for that on ChatGPT in just a second.
Perfect.
Now, what we're diving into is, the AI game, the landscape is just changing literally every day. There's a new tool, there's a new update, there's a new whiz-bang, gizmo, gadget, app, something, website. And it's super easy to just become completely overwhelmed. If you watch some podcasts and things like that, pardon me, it's easy to think, we're all dead, we're doomed, game over, man.
They're on the T600s, the T800s are coming out any day now.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And, to some degree, that could totally be true. But our goal here is to just step back for a second, break through all the noise, all the glitz and glamour and hype, and say, okay, hey, is there a way I can use one or some or a few or all of these tools to do what I do better, to help me make a living, to do something billable, rather than just getting steamrolled by it? Kind of our motto is we want to learn how to drive the steamroller. And the reality is we're probably going to be learning how to drive a different steamroller like every week. If it's just going to be changing, and it's going to be changing faster. But rather than just kind of being overwhelmed by that, it's like, let's dig in and figure out what's what.
Yeah, let's put some handles on this thing.
Yeah.
Right. So just want to dive in on this idea of, like, topically speaking, there's a tool every minute for a vast number of, purposes, like we all know. But let's dip our toe in maybe with something simple like writing. I say simple, not to say that writing is easy, but
it can't be that hard.
It's the
Chris does it, so
yeah. You pay me to do it, so it must not be that easy.
So I was just, a quick search. There's a term you won't hear a lot next year.
Right.
Quick search. What are the top AI tools for writing? Well, you've got, everyone's familiar with ChatGPT, of course, but then you've got Jasper AI, you've got Copy AI, WriteSonic, Writer, RYTR, you've got Anyword.
Clever.
Yeah, they're so clever. You've got Grammarly, WordTune, Quillbot, Pseudowrite, Claude, of course, Gemini, Article Forge, Writer, Ink, Meta AI, PepperType, Perplexity, all that, and it just goes, dude.
All the other words were taken.
Yeah, it's like...
Not to be confused with Salt Type.
Here's how half of these started. Hey, ChatGPT, I need an app for a phone that basically lets people use you, but with my thing and paying me for ads. Go. Literally, I bet more than half of those are just wrappers for ChatGPT.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
GPT,
you noticed that, what was it, a few months ago when ChatGPT had a little downtime, it went down, and suddenly there were all of these other services that were down too. You're like, wait, you're ChatGPT, and you're
100%.
ChatGPT, and you're ChatGPT.
100%.
Oh my gosh, it was hilarious. And then of course they cover everything from help with business writing to advertising, social media, AI, compliance, content marketing. And the list goes on and on. Fiction, nonfiction, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
And that's all just subsets of what ChatGPT is already doing, or Gemini, or Grok, or whatever.
So you might think it's as easy as just dropping in a prompt and just saying, I need a thing, go, right? But I know there's...
For some stuff, it is.
Sure.
Yeah.
But this idea of, hey, let's get a little deeper on this. How do we use this in maybe a more creative way, more of a proper way to say, hey, I'm writing a book, or I'm writing whatever it may be. And I know there's probably a best practice around that, and that's what we kind of dive in on today. Let's talk a little bit about that. In your own professional career as a writer, in the writing side of what you do, how have you found AI to be helpful, and how do you leverage that without losing your creative soul?
So like me, a lot of folks love Malcolm Gladwell books. They're just so amazingly researched, and the way he ties things together is so cool. What a lot of people don't know is that Malcolm has a research team. He has like this group of, I think some of them are graduate students, but like he has a research team, And he's like, hey, I'm writing about this. Find me stories about this, that, and the other thing. So I've written screenplays. I've written, I ghostwrite books for people. I'm working on a book of my own right now, a nonfiction book. And I also write like copy for video scripts and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
So quickly, just real quickly out of the gate, what Chat or Gemini or any of them, what they're not going to do for you is just do your job. Now, if what you write is super recipe, we write kind of the same thing over and over and over. We just, if it's more functional, if it's more like technical writing, that kind of thing, that's going to be a lot easier to automate you can literally give it some samples of your existing writing. And you can say, hey, I need this again, but about this product instead of that product. I need it to be this many words.
I'm not sure about that. I watched a movie Friday night. I'm pretty sure ChatGPT took Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade and smushed it up against National Treasure and called it a new movie that's streaming right now that I won't say the name of. I mean, it was
we'll save that for another episode.
Remarkably terrible dialogue and borrowed pieces. So
absolutely. So there's another whole kind of a new emerging sector of the video entertainment industry that will. I don't know if it's okay to like talk about it because I would kind of be crapping on a lot of it, but it's a new short form phone-based episodic drama. I've all but said what it is, but yeah, a lot of those you can tell they come straight out of the engine. And this goes to the point that you can get it to write stuff for you. You can absolutely say, hey, I want to write a book about blah, blah, blah. I need 10 chapters. I need this many words. Go. And it'll do what you ask it, but it's not going to be super compelling. The compelling piece of authorship is finding those unusual connections. So like for me, I was doing a book proposal. They wound up not writing the book at all. It wasn't that they didn't go with me. They just decided not to write the book. They were trying to lobby Congress there was a piece of legislation that was about regulating the personal finance industry. And so some representatives of the personal finance industry wanted to write a book so that they could leverage the book to get onto, like CNBC and, Maria Bartiromo's show or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
So they wanted the book as kind of a platform to get on the Sunday shows and the financial shows to talk about basically their lobbying it would be the public face of their lobbying efforts. So they need, a book like that, you need something to kind of, you can't just say, here's why this law sucks and here's why this would be better or whatever. You need something that's human that people can get their heads around. So I spent probably a day and a half just in research for the introduction. That was all I was looking for. And I landed on this really amazing story. It's a very tragic story. Back in 1915, about this thing, and it had a really good parallel to how I wanted to pitch the book.
Mm-hmm.
But really, all I needed to know was I need some good examples of regulations that caused bad unintended consequences. That took me a day and a half of research, and I found this really compelling story. Well, I can go to Chat and I can say, can you give me some examples of government regulations that led to unintended.
I could have saved you time, Chris. You could have said everything government does turns into a negative consequence. It's not that hard.
See history.
See history. See Congress for reference.
Certainly. Here are several noticeable things. The Prohibition Act, that's not what I'm after. Rent control laws, corporate.
So what are you looking for now in the results? Tell me about what your trained eye is looking for that sets it apart.
Yeah, so I can tell already this is giving me some some acts that had it said, hey, here's some regulations and here's some unintended consequences. And that tells me, this is not what I'm looking for. So I just refine. I'm not looking for acts. I'm not looking for regulations. Particular.
This reminds me of my pet peeve of like Instagram reels and such that are like
listening to people read their prompts.
These prompts should be illegal. I'm like, how can you write a prompt that everybody can use? I mean, it seems like a great prompt would have to be super specific, and to be super specific, it would only serve one particular need. How can that be something worth like hiding and sharing? Hiding from the public and sharing if you pay or something. Kind of drives me crazy.
There are some crazy long prompts out there that do some crazy useful things. Maybe there's some of that are out there that we don't.
Maybe you just swap keywords and
it unlocks something it shouldn't. I don't know. Okay, so what change did we make here, Chris? Mouse up a little bit so we can see the prompt.
This is amazing.
What was your prompt that you gave it?
My prompt was, I'm looking for things like disasters that were inadvertently caused by regulations. First hit.
Okay.
The SS Eastland disaster. That was the thing it took me a day and a half to find and land on. But it gives me this nice, quick thing. The Lafayette Siemens Act, a response to the Titanic, mandated more lifeboats per passenger. The unintended consequence was this SS Eastland was a ship. It was a ferry boat that had been used on the Great Lakes for years and years, and they kept making it bigger and larger so they could pack more people in it so they could make more money on all their little short trips. Well, to meet the requirements of this act, they piled a bunch of lifeboats on top of the boat. And these were not like cool, lightweight lifeboats like we have now. These were big, heavy wooden lifeboats and life preservers, packs of them. And they put all of this stuff just on the top sides of the ship. Well, what they didn't realize was it made the ship top heavy, and the ship capsized in the port, like in the city, at the port where people were getting on. Once a certain number of people got on and they were just milling around in the boat just kind of leaned over, and because of all this extra weight, and a whole bunch of people died. And the people who got, most of the people who died were lower class people who were down in the lower levels of the ship.
Oh man!
And so that was this amazing, beautiful picture for what this legislation that has since died on the vine, which was great. But if they had enacted this legislation, it was going to, on paper, it was going to let politicians say, oh, look at this thing that we fixed. But what they didn't realize is it was really going to very negatively impact kind of the poorest Americans who lean into personal finance a lot for their month to month, or if they have an emergency or that.
So if I hear you right, you're saying that like that team that Malcolm has behind him,
yes,
you just replaced the whole team with a prompt.
Yeah, and I just replaced a day and a half of my work with this. But now here's one: the space shuttle. Talked about the regulations that kind of led to that. This is great. The California wildfires and environmental regulations. Mm-hmm. So this is where they've done things that actually made fires worse because they rerouted like 75% of their water from Northern California. They just dumped it into the ocean for some fish that they figured out, they're not actually spawning in this thing the way we thought they were. Oh, bummer. No, half of Southern California just burned to the ground over the last few years. Mm-hmm. So it's stuff like that. But like, boom, here is here's seven. Here's 7 examples.
You'd have been in the library for a week.
Totally.
Yeah.
I've been on Google for a week.
Yeah.
And another thing is like search is dead. You probably didn't hear it here first, but I mean, like Google search is done. Dead. It is. It's done because whatever you're searching for, if you look for it in chat or in Grok or in Gemini or whatever, you're going to get 100% better, 1,000% better results, much more tailored to what you're looking for, much more tunable by just a second prompt or whatever. And it's ad free. I'm sure that's not going to remain for very long. But if you're doing any Googling, stop. Just go to one of the AIs, start doing your searching there.
Yeah. It doesn't have to be the special one that you got to go, buy one of the ones we read. It's just the best camera is the one in your pocket, right? Like use the AI that's available to you, whether it's ChatGPT or Grok or whatever, and start there. Yeah.
Yep.
So back to the business side of the AI side of the creative.
Right.
Right. So how do clients that you're working with, especially if you're writing in their voice, now research is kind of one thing, but I'm sure there's like is Chris using AI? What's going on? Is that he shouldn't charge this much, or that's not going to return, I'm not paying for that. Or there's got to be pushback because I know.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. So this is one of those perfect examples of get steamrolled or learn how to drive the steamroller. I had a client who wanted me to ghostwrite a book for him, and he already had the ideas, the concepts. It was already
title. I got a title.
Yeah, I got a title. And 4 napkins. No. It was actually very well laid out. He had written it as kind of a short form, almost like a pamphlet. Mm-hmm. He's like, I'd really like to beef this out into a full length proper book to accomplish some other goals. And so we started talking, what I charged for ghostwriting, and he was like, that's like a lot more than I was planning on. I was like, well, okay. And this thought popped into my head while we were talking.
Wow.
So I was like, I do not want to lose this job. Also, I cannot do this job for half. Also, I do not want to tell this guy I'm going to ghostwrite his book for super cheap and then go use chat and not tell him. So I'm thinking all this stuff while he's telling me this is way out of my budget. I'm like, as soon as he said this is outside my budget, I'm like, okay, what's another way we could do this?
You're like, ChatGPT, what do I do?
Well, that's when the neural link comes, and that's how it'll be.
Right.
But so I just said, well, how about this? I can take some other samples of stuff that you've written. I can take this, and I can manage the process of using AI to build this out into a full length proper book. And, it will very much sound, and I will manage the whole thing. I will go in, there will be little things that I'll see that I'll be like, yep,
you'll move from writer to
that editor, looks and editor, smells like, exactly.
Yeah. I'm just going to change hats. I'll take off my author hat and I'll put on my editor hat.
And we cut the price in half.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the time, so the dollars per hour, worked out almost exactly the same. So
he got what he wanted.
He got what he wanted at a price he could afford, at a rate that worked for me. Now,
can you give me that prompt? Can I get that?
Can I get that
prompt?
Yeah. You can get that prompt for $1,100. Yes.
No, my question is why is ghostwriting so expensive? Ghosts are dead, don't need money. Thank you. I was holding that one the whole time.
Had that in your pocket.
Sound effect. Where's my sound effect?
Dang it.
Chat, what are some better jokes for Andy?
All right, keep going with that thought, though.
No. Well, it was just this thing. So it was like, I can step back from that and say, well, were you legitimately asking why ghostwriting is expensive?
No, okay. I was just being the comic relief that wasn't.
It was actually pretty good in retrospect.
Yeah.
We can laugh at
We'll laugh at this tomorrow.
Yeah. We'll laugh at me. It's okay. Yeah. No, but so he was prepared for that. So he responded well to it as long as the results felt.
Yeah. And I gave him, I always give somebody a sample. And, there's no way I'm, going to try and ask somebody to do a book with that. It's like, I always give them an introduction to first chapter. It's like, if you like this, then let's go.
How much massaging or manual updating and tweaking? Like, chat can't get this sentence right. I'm just going to rewrite it. How much of that did you have to do?
Well, its grammar is impeccable, first of all. So that was great. There are no typos. There are no grammar errors. The commas and quotations and parentheses are all in the right place where they're supposed to be.
I do sometimes wonder if it's just as good at all the other languages as it is with English. I assume that it is, but I mean,
most of them started with English, but they are all rapidly. They are teaching themselves the other languages, which is fascinating.
That is.
It'd be cool to tell it to write in the Shatner comma and see if it gave you back a result.
That would be perfect.
That would be awesome. I need this in Shatner, please.
Shatner.
Chatshatner.com. We should get that.
ChatGPT.
ChatGPT. Yeah. Well, that could go a couple of ways, actually.
That needs to be.
Oh my God.
I'm not Googling that from work.
I love that.
April Fools next year. Notate that. We're announcing ChatGPT.
But back to your point, there were places where...
That's just where ChatGPT's answers all come to you with pregnant pauses. It just take a lot longer to get you what you need. Yeah.
It's a slower version of the same thing.
Yes, that's what they need to do.
Slower and more dramatic.
Hopefully somebody's watching. Make it happen.
Yeah. Make it so number one.
Make it happen.
See what I did there?
I did.
Yeah, you did.
Yeah,
he's not a deep dive.
That was a Trek reference. I love
Not
it.
a Trekkie. Sorry, guys.
A little inner franchise humor there.
Right.
Anyway, so it's more, nothing was translated weird. There was not a single thing that was that's not how you would say that. There were just things where it went out of my client's voice a little bit.
Yeah.
And that really is the big job for a ghostwriter is if you're doing a personal book for someone, like a nonfiction book especially, or if you're working for an established author as a ghostwriter on their team of people, you wonder how some of these guys are cranking out like a book every 4 months. It's because they have a bunch of people who have learned how to write just like them.
Mm-hmm.
Question though, were you doing this before, I'm assuming before Chat had the project thing, right? So you couldn't train it on, here's 20 of this guy's books. Now write this new one that feels like those. Like
I didn't do a whole book. I just I did about 5 pages of other stuff that he had written.
Yeah.
To kind of capture that voice. It does a great job. I've tested it on my own stuff. So I've said, here's my voice.
Have you compared Chat with notebooks, project workflow in that sense?
Like Notebook LM?
Notebook LM,
with it.
It's isolated, so it's not pulling from outside sources, but you upload 10 books you wrote.
Yep.
And then you say, write a book that feels like I wrote all these other books, or, it's pulling from that. So
it's very similar.
Theoretically should be better.
It does sound like it should be, but like when it comes out, a lot of times, at least my experience has been Notebook LM is almost too dry. It doesn't have that.
Yeah.
It doesn't fake humanity as well.
And that's what all
Except
the
for
AI
that dude's
stuff.
bassy voice. He's like, let's talk about that.
Yeah, let's have.
Except that is the thing that and we still, as human beings, we can still tell. We can read an article, or we can read a book, or we can read something. We're like, I can't put my finger on it, but there's something.
That uncanny valley of the written word too. Then it's not just a visual thing.
Yeah, that's weird. That's true.
So, but it was a little bit of, I would say I probably had to massage 10 to 15% of the content.
And I wonder how much of that would get more and more narrow the more you feed it. If you only gave it 5 pages versus like 5 books, here's 1,000 pages.
Right. I've given it, so I haven't finished a long form thing of my own yet, but I've given it several of my short form essays, like 1,800 to 2,500 words. That's kind of long for an essay, but and then I'll have it write. I've tested. I was like, write this like with my voice, and it's pretty good. I give it an 85. I give it a good solid passing grade, which is why for like informational stuff, it's fine. But for stuff where you really need the humanity, it's different. One other thing I want to touch on briefly, I wrote a screenplay for a short film a few months ago. I finished a screenplay. I wrote it over several months, but I finished it a few months ago. And so I just dropped it in here and asked it what it thought. It gave me like a quick summary. Said here are the things I think are strengths. It gave me some suggestions.
Does it base what it provides you? Can you tell it, hey, you're Martin Scorsese, read this and give me feedback he would provide? Versus like I would go that route because it knows everything about these, major directors out there.
Yeah.
Hey, you're, Robert Zemeckis or you're Spielberg and just what would they be looking for? Or
I have done other thought experiments like that. I haven't done that particular one. I might do that with this one as a follow-up. But the other thing now, obviously, I'm never going to even start on a story till I have a log line.
Yeah.
I'm always like title log line before anything, but I'm really curious.
I like to write fade in first. That always helps me.
Welcome to Fade In Productions. Can you give me 10 log lines for this story?
I'm sorry, Chris. It's not good enough for me to spend the computing time. I want the cynical, sarcastic version of ChatGPT. Wouldn't that be great?
That would be.
So here's one based on the core thriller. Here's one on the emotional, moral conflict, more character driven. Like this stuff is gold.
Yeah, it's massive.
It just helps you get further faster.
Mm-hmm.
This is not the content that you're gonna sell. It just helps you get there faster. And I think hopefully what we're going to find as kind of a common denominator to all these tools we're going to be exploring and re-exploring the new update every 3 weeks or whatever it is we're going to find that there's going to be some application that's useful, that's helpful for what we do, that we don't need to be scared of it. We need to lean into it. I can choose what perspective I want to have on like that book project. I can step back and say, man, when I usually make this much when I ghostwrite a book. It's like, well, He couldn't afford that. So it's not about I didn't make what I normally make. It's like I needed to find a way to deliver the project that would work for him at a budget that would work for him. And this was the tool that did it. Yep. And it worked out for me on a time, a dollars per hour basis. It worked out great.
What's cool, I think, is you do this enough and it soon, I mean, if we're not already there, you'll have the ability to create an agent around these tasks. So client wants me to do this, reach out, see, basically assess the lead, provide them with a range of what it will cost, provide them with the options, research what they're asking, go get the log line, go get the, summarize write me the creative brief basically, right? And then you'll have several of these steps all buttoned up at once that you'll be leaping from, 10 steps down versus 1 step or 2 steps down.
You're right. Now, the Chicken Little people are saying that this is going to kill Hollywood, that people are just going to they're just going to give chat some prompts and make a movie and it's going to be awesome. And it's like, okay, even if that was true, people are going to get tired of that pretty quick, I think. I could be wrong. Maybe I'm totally wrong.
But let's hope they do.
I think, right? let's certainly hope we do. But
pendulum always has another side.
For sure.
It's a swing too.
For sure. So this may be, we're going to be on a wild ride for the next, the next 2 through 5 years, I think.
Yeah.
Well, to that point, that's why you wanted to do this.
Yeah.
Was to not make 30-second loud and proud and boisterous, like, check it out what I just made. I made this cool thing. Blah, 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 blah. And then
cool,
it's over,
useless thing.
And you're just swiping by just to get the flashing lights out of your eyes.
Yeah.
You wanted to go a little deeper and talk a little more about what you're actually using it for and getting paid, which I think is way more valuable to creatives.
Totally.
Than just,
Totally.
slam bam, promotional crap on Insta.
And as we come up with new use cases and new, here's a thing I didn't even think to use this for, but now, I saw another guy do this, we tried that and it gave us this great feedback, which, it's good. There are going to be ways to utilize these tools. And it's the adapt or die thing, and that's always the way it's been. But I think now it's now more than ever.
Now more than ever.
Yeah. It's of utmost importance. And if you, if you get scared and crawl up in a ball, you are going to die.
Evolve or dissolve. Keep saying that.
Can we do a whole episode where we just do voiceover battles for the cheesiest,
fabulous,
the worst radio voice? Workflow wise, what do you do?
In an outpost on the edge of space.
I'm not going to do it now, Chris. You can't pull me into this. Do you ever find in chat, as you're ideating and whittling things together?
Yep.
Do you ever find that it splits and now you're maintaining 2 different chat ideas?
Absolutely.
And then the follow up to that. Yep. I have a follow up, sir. Please wait. I've got to ask 12 questions.
Yep.
What's the result? Or what's the workflow for coming out of chat? Are you going into Google Docs, pasting what you like, then reworking it, or how do you actually get?
So this is chat's ability to export stuff is really pretty astounding. In working on my book, my first book, I was kind of researching this one aspect of the story, and this is very much a personal development book. But in researching a story of a company that related to the original premise of my book, I kind of happened into this whole business application of the same principles. And so I was like, so I started a new tab. That's one of the things I love over here is you can start a tab for a project and then you can have all these individual tabs inside of that. So you can really, it's great at managing it doesn't just turn into a big, it's not a legal pad full of random stuff.
Right.
It's like you really can silo this stuff into what you're working on. And I found this, I basically developed a second idea for a business version of the book. It's and it studies 4 huge companies and 4 sports franchises that all, you can map this journey, this personal journey. You can map these same stages onto these companies and these sports franchises. And it's there it is. And what's really cool about that is it gives you this analytical tool to understand where are you in your story and how do you get to the next place, or how do you get unstuck? How do you, that kind of thing. And I'm starting to develop these same tools. But anyway, I'll go back to your thing. So when you have a section now that you're wow, there's a lot of good material here. Sometimes it'll ask, or you can ask it. It's hey, can you export this as a formatted chapter outline And it's like, do you want a PDF? Do you want it Microsoft Word? Do you know,
Right.
how do you want this formatted?
Word 3.1, please.
Word 3.1.
Word-
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if you can export it to this
You get
floppy
to
disk,
text
that'd be
edit.
great. What's a floppy disk? But it's ability to help you is,
Accommodate whatever needs you have, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's just amazing.
There's a lot more I know we could go deep on with this conversation, which we're going to go into other topics in the future around writing and you know, screenplays, whatever, what have you. Is there anything kind of final parting thoughts you want to leave people with as they think about how to leverage this incredible tool for their writing creatively or more function-based or otherwise?
Don't be scared. Take a deep breath and play in the sandbox for a while. And like, you will be amazed your own ideas that you come up with for how to use it better for what you do. Our daughter sent us a recipe the other day for something or other, and we made it, and we're like, this is incredible. Where'd you get the recipe? She's like, ChatGPT. And she told us, she's like, I'm looking for I'm trying to remember what it was. It was these tacos. She was like, I'm looking for this particular kind of tacos with these ingredients, blah, blah, blah. It was awesome. But creatively, I mean, you can use this to analyze business problems. You can use this to
write business plans. I mean, you can do
write
whatever.
business plans, creative briefs. Oh my gosh, creative briefs. This totally smokes. It will even format. It can create graphics for you. It's a great tool.
Got a little ways to go on the graphics
and it
side.
Also, yes, it can. There are scary aspects about it, but there's a whole lot about it that is just awesome.
Well said. All right. Well, if you found this helpful, like, subscribe, smash the bell, all the things. Thanks for your time. And Chris, thank you, man.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again soon. All right. Cheers. Until next time.